Hello, welcome to episode 19 of the Aim High and Achieve podcast. So today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different, as in there is no guest on the show today. It is only me. So I was just going to give a little bit of an update because I've not recorded a podcast for a couple of months. So I just wanted to update on where the show's at, why there's not been a guest, what my plans are going forward with it, and my other plans. So, unfortunately, the last couple of months, my father's been quite ill. Unfortunately, he passed away on New Year's Day, 2-3 days ago, which is very sad. So, like anything, when you have these kind of private emotions of things happening with family and people not being well, it tends to deplete your motivation to be being creative or putting yourself out there. So that's kind of one small reason that's been in my mind quite a lot. So that's one thing. One other reason, I've been doing a heck of a lot of training myself on January the 18th, so in 15 days, I'm running in the Oman Desert Marathon, which is 165 kilometers spread over 5 days in the Omani Desert. It's not a race to be taken lightly, and it certainly requires a lot of training. I've been training for this for approximately 3 or 4 months. 3 months maybe. I incorporated into that training a marathon in Karmoy on at the end of November. Unfortunately, after that marathon, I got quite a bad Achilles tendonitis in my left ankle, or left Achilles. So I've been trying to train for a 165k race with a very bad Achilles pain. So that's been interesting. That's been consuming a lot of my time, as well as working a regular job day to day. So finding the time to do a podcast, and although it seems like it's only 1 hour with a guest, it's actually a lot more time consuming than that. You're trying to arrange the time for the guest. Nothing is simple in that regards. There's been 1 or 2 that's been simple, but not so many. That requires time. So I've not forgotten about this podcast. It is always in the back of my mind, and I'm always thinking about different avenues. I've got some ideas for 2025 about the way it's going to go, and there's some irons in the fires. So it's just a little bit away on the back burner, but it will be back, no doubt about that. So that's where I'm at really with it. In terms of guests and the theme, it's still going to be along the same lines as the things that I'm involved in, because that's the easiest place to go for the people I'm meeting and the people I'm hanging about with. Really interesting people in terms of running, endurance sports and that kind of thing. So there may be a slight rebrand in the Aim High and Achieve podcast, just to lean it towards that kind of theme. So that'd be interesting. I've been working on that a little bit in the background as well. So I also just wanted to touch on my sort of training and what I've been doing. So like with any sort of endurance training, the most ideal, what I have found, the most ideal format is what's called the 80-20. So 80% of your cardio training is in zone 2, even zone 1, but preferably zone 2, and 20% is in threshold, tempo, zone 4, zone 5, little bit in VO2 max. So that's the kind of program I've been trying to maintain. Up to the Achilles injury, I was going pretty well with that. I would do intervals once or twice a week, and the rest was just sort of really slow, mundane, 10k runs, take me an hour or so. I'm not interested in the time. I literally run as slow as possible, and I try and keep my heart rate around 130 or less. That was working great. I think with the Achilles injury, what happened was when I did Carmoy Marathon, I pushed myself quite a bit. I didn't think I was, but I think I pushed myself without really knowing it. Sub 4 hour, 3 hours, 47 minutes. So I was really proud of that. The time in 2023, I was over 4 hours 30 odd. So I took nearly 1 hour off my marathon time within a year, only by staying with the 80-20. Running approximately 50 or 60 kilometers a week, sometimes 70 or 80. And then no change to my food. Still drank alcohol, not in excess, but beer, couple of beers in the evening, couple more on a Friday and Saturday, that kind of thing, but nothing crazy. 40 odd. Those days are long gone, but nevertheless, still having a beer and a glass of wine. So in doing so, from that marathon, 2023 November to 2024 November, almost 1 hour off the time. Lost around 10 kilos roughly in weight. Again, I didn't change my diet. I wasn't really looking at my diet. I was only doing a lot of zone 2 running, cycling. No strength work whatsoever. My job's quite physical, so no strength work, only running. So once I'd sort of decided that my path was going to be endurance sports, ultra running specifically, then I had to think about going to the next level. So now I have to incorporate strength training into my training, and I have to think, is the 80-20 right? Am I running the correct volume? So I did some research, and that led me to a guy called Sondre Armdal, who is an ultra running coach here in Norway. So I spoke with him, had some recommendations from other people about him, and decided that he was the go-to guy for myself. I felt it was a really good partnership and it would work really well. So I've signed up with Sondre for 2025. So he's guiding my training in terms of the races that I've already got booked and how we're going to work towards those goals. So the first race being the Oman Desert Marathon in 15 days. For the last month or so, I have changed my diet completely, consciously, let's say. So I'm still trying to stick with the 80-20, but that's stopped since my Achilles problem. So the high intensity training is stopped, and everything I'm doing while I have this injury is low cardio and strength training. The one thing about having an injury is it forces you to think how to adapt your training in other ways. So if you're a sports person and you get an injury, you can't see it as something that's going to hold you back and stop you from training, and you have to rest, sit on your ass all day, wait for it to recover. You have to think about it in a different way. You have to think about it as an opportunity to make other parts of your body stronger. So you have to, if you've injured your leg, work on your upper body. If you've injured your shoulder, work on your legs. You have to adapt and strengthen other parts of use the opportunity of that injury to strengthen other areas that you've neglected over the years. That's very important mentally. When I got this Achilles injury after the marathon, my head was screaming to rest. And stupidly, I just rested. You lose a bit of momentum, you have a couple of weeks off, the mental health starts to go down, you've not been doing what's been keeping your mental health ticking over. And it took me a couple of weeks before I realised, hang on, I can use this injury to improve my strength training, to improve my joint health, to think about my diet, and so on and so on. So that's one point that I've discovered on this sort of on my running journey that I'm going into now is, as a sports person, you're going to have setbacks and injuries, and you have to take those not as negatives but as positives to find other ways and find other things to strengthen up. So that's one point. The other point is on the diet. Having this injury also led me to really think about, okay, am I drinking too much? Is that alcohol, beer, wine in my bloodstream, is that running through my Achilles tendon and not helping to repair the damaged fibres that are in it? And that really got me thinking, is this injury going to take 6 weeks to heal instead of 2 weeks to heal because I'm drinking? Am I eating too much carbohydrate, too much potatoes? Is that in my bloodstream? Is that not helping me at all for that injury to heal? Do I need to eat more protein? Do I need to take creatine? Do I need to take protein shakes, supplements, magnesium? This got me thinking about all these different things, and if I'm optimizing my body correctly to heal this injury as quickly as I could. And normally I wouldn't really think like this, but with the date of the Oman Marathon looming, and if you've ever had Achilles tendonitis, the pain is quite severe pain. It's 8 out of 10 pain when it's at its peak. So I literally had a month, 2 months to this race, and I started to think, fuck, this is not going to be pleasant. I have to do marathon after marathon after marathon, and I can't do a 3K after a 3K after a 3K without being in serious pain. So it really woke me up to say, I've got to sort this out. I can't just let it heal. I have to think about optimizing, should I ice it? Should I ibuprofen cream it? That led me down other rabbit holes of, okay, icing's okay, but only for 20 minutes. You can't keep it on ice for 6 hours, then it won't heal, there's no blood flow. So it's interesting, the rabbit holes you go down once you have something like that. So 15 days to go, it's not healed. I can still feel it slightly, but I'm hoping with the steps I've taken that it's just about going to sneak me through it. Maybe it does, maybe it does. We won't know till the first day. But I kind of feel like I've done everything I can to give me the best chance I have of completing this race. So that's one thing I've learned on this journey. I would also like to think that having the time to do strength training and strengthen other parts of my body, that's also given me a good chance. So that's interesting, and that was a good journey to go through. After the Oman Marathon is a backyard ultra in Sandnes in March. So that's I'm seeing that more of a training run towards the big race in April, which is the Sandnes 100 miles. So a backyard ultra is basically a 6.7 kilometre loop every hour, and you run that for 12 hours. And it's kind of like a last man standing deal. So that's a good test of endurance. 1 day race, 2 hour drive from my house. So that'll be it. I'm really looking forward to that one. Sandnes Ultra 100 miles. If you're interested, listen back a few episodes to the Sandnes Ultra podcast I did with Luke, which is my 50-mile race that I did this last year, 2024. I did the 50-mile version of that race, which was the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. It took me 24 hours. Listen back to the episode for the full details, but it was pretty horrendous. Had an IT band problem, got lost in the night time. So that was a total learning curve. In April 2025, I'm doing the Sandnes Ultra 100 mile race, so it's twice as long, obviously. And it's arguably one of the toughest foot races in Europe, no doubt about that. I'm not over-exaggerating that one bit. Anybody who's done it, anybody who's done that and UTMB type races will vouch that Sandnes is, in terms of elevation, technical terrain, is one of the toughest races. So that's the real goal, is to get through to April, continue the training, and achieve that goal of getting a finisher's plaque from Jim, the race director there. So that's I'm really looking forward to that. And just in terms of the reason why I feel it's so important that whenever you have goals or dreams, is that you just book the event without knowing anything about it, and then you train for it. This is so important that you book and you lock in what you want to do. It doesn't have to be running, that's just what I do. Cycle race, a triathlon, a mountain climb. Want to climb Snowdon, you want to climb Mont Blanc. You book it. It's the only way to focus your mind. If you say to yourself, okay, I want to climb up Mount Snowdon, I'm going to do it in the summer, I'll wait till the summer before, and then you start trying to think about it, you will never focus your mind enough to actually train properly for that event. If you want to do a triathlon, you have to just book the triathlon. This obviously applies some common sense to. You don't book a triathlon next week if you've never swam, raced and run, so apply common sense to that. But anything like this, you want to achieve it, you have to just book it and then find a way. You'll be amazed. If you want to run a marathon, I suppose, is the easiest example to give with most people, is they want to achieve running a marathon. You want to run a marathon in 6 months, you find one, book it, put it in your calendar, and then train for it. The mind will be focused. You'll be amazed how focused you get. That's another great tip, is don't say one day I'm going to run a marathon. Say from day one, today, I've booked it and I'm going to train for it. And that's the best way to achieve anything. Especially going into 2025, especially this time of year, people are motivated to, lose weight, go to the gym, go running, do a park run, all these kind of things. Just book it. Trust me, that is the most effective way to achieve anything. So that's kind of what my philosophy has been, and I booked these races last year. After Sandnes Ultra 50 mile race in 2024, I sent messages out to people to say that day, do not ever let me do anything like this again. I'm in a K-hole. I don't even want to know about ultra running ever again. 2 days later, I booked the Sandnes Ultra 100, and my wife says, you must be crazy. But if I hadn't have booked it there and then, the training I did last year, I wouldn't have done it. There is no way I would have trained like I trained last year, knowing that I've got that race coming. If I had have left it and said, let's wait and see, maybe I'll book it in a month or two, let me just wait, see how I recover, I can guarantee 100% I would have had time to think about it, and I wouldn't have done it. I would have let people maybe talk me out of it, and so on and so on. So the most important thing is booking that target. Last year, I probably ran most days, and every day in the back of my head I was thinking, in April 2025 I have to run 100 miles at Sandnes. It was locked in. There's nothing I can do. The same with the Oman Marathon. Every run since October when I booked it, every run has been geared up to that. I've been putting myself in the position of running that marathon every time I've gone out. So it's super important. You just book it and you go for it. That's the best advice I can give. You're going to have setbacks along the way. For example, with my Achilles, it took me a few weeks before I switched my head back into gear, and I found solutions, and I found a way to focus my mind on strength, on turning it into a positive instead of sulking about it. Achilles tendonitis is an overuse injury, so it's not something that you can take surgery on, or you can fix it with any miracle stretches or cures. There is no cure. It's ice, little bit of ibuprofen cream now and again if the pain is really bad, but it's ice, heat, stretch, recovery, eat good foods, protein, and so on. And then just de-use the Achilles. So it's an overuse injury, just de-use it. So that's kind of been my journey for the last few months. And also in one reason, again, like I said at the beginning of this brief podcast, is just one sort of aspect of why this sort of podcast has taken a bit of a back step. But that's fine. This is not a get rich overnight type deal. This is something for the long term. Hopefully I'm going to try and get out one a month. So I'll try and get one out in January, February, March, and we'll just see how we go. That was my kind of original plan in the start with the podcast, was to get 2 podcasts out every month, one every 2 weeks. That's probably still achievable. But I think it's more, it's probably going to be a bit more focused on the quality to get one out every month. So that's where it's at the minute. So just from me, I want to say a happy new year to everyone, especially everyone who follows me. That's fantastic. Thanks very much for your support. I really appreciate it. I've had some great messages from people. Thanks to everybody who sent me a message about my father passing. That really means a lot to me. So I just want to wish everyone a great 2025. Don't hold back on your goals. Set your goals now. Put them in your calendar. Start training for them, whatever they are. Maybe you want to make a podcast. Set it up. Just go for it. When I started this podcast, I didn't have a clue. When I listen back to the first couple, you just kind of put your fingers in your ears. You don't want to listen to them. But as you grow, as you try different things out, as you learn, as you get more confident, as you start to see the results on Spotify, it starts to, inspire you to, not give up on it and just to keep going. Keep talking to people and keep inviting people on. I've had some amazing guests. Well, every guest has been amazing. I've reached out to so many people. 99% just say, yeah, amazing, let's do it. The 1% who have been tricky and asking for statistics and what they can get out of it, I'm just going to pull the cord on those people. That's not what I want. This is a platform for you to tell your story, not for what you can gain out of it or what I can offer you and what sort of step ups you can get from it. So if you're listening to this and you get an invite from me, just say yeah and come on the podcast. It's only an hour and have a chat. You don't need to know what you're going to get out of it, because that's not how podcasts work. So yeah, big thanks to all the guests from 2023 and 24. Really appreciate it. Yeah, that's all I've got to say really for now. So give it a like and subscribe. Thanks again so much, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.